Yes, we are recording. Alrighty, 3, 2, 1. Hey, welcome to the Suicide Prevention Punchline. I am one of your hosts, Frank King. I'm joined by the other host,
What's up? I'm Zara Khan.
and Zara Khan. Will you please introduce our guest for today?
Yes, we have a great guest today. We found each other on Instagram, so thank you, Facebook, for making this connection possible. It's his name is Malcom Messer, and he has a
Yeah.
clothing brand for suicide prevention and mental health awareness called Here for Life.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
What's
Malcolm,
up?
do you want to share anything about yourself before we get
Uh,
started?
sure. I guess like a quick backstory is like I'm only 27 and I'm originally from Minnesota, but I moved out here to Washington where I currently am. Long story short, to help my friend who is dealing with suicidal thoughts and their mental health and having issues with that. So I uprooted my entire life just to come out here to help my friend, and then had created the clothing brand at the same time I was doing that.
Hold on. You dropped everything and came out to help a friend who was depressed and having thoughts of suicide?
Yeah. So I mean, if you want the basic rundown of the story, I can go right into it if you
Please
want.
do.
Yeah. Okay. So, this friend I had met back in Minnesota. We both had worked at a bar together. She was a cook and I was a server at this bar called Northwoods. We only knew each other for like a little bit of time, probably a summer. But when we started hanging out, we kind of just like hit it off and everything was cool. And she had just told me she had planned to move to Washington. And then there was like 1 week where she was like, "Hey, I'm leaving this Thursday. Like, I'm going." And I was like, "Oh, okay, bye." And I have like a past of like a lot of my friends. When I became friends with them, they would move away. Like my first friend in first grade, like moved to Alaska, and then my next like best friend moved to Montana, and then Texas and New York. It was like just a weird anomaly.
Malcolm,
Um,
maybe it's you. Maybe.
I know, right? That's what I thought when I was growing up. I was like, that's probably better just to not like be friends with anyone. But then I get lonely, you know. So I'd always find someone new, but they'd always move away. So something I did. I was too needy. That's what it was. But anyway, so she had moved, and I was like, I don't want to let this friendship like go to waste. Like it was like we hit it off right away, and it was awesome. So I told her that I was gonna visit her like every 3 months or so. And she had moved, and before the first time I visited her, she had moved in August, and I think by September of 2 years ago now, this was, she had just kind of texted me and was just like, "Hey, I need to tell you something." And I was like, "What is it?" And she was like, "I'm suicidal." And I was like, "I know. Like I've known since we met. Like I could just tell from like the signs, or like maybe it was my empathy or something, but I knew." Um, and yeah, so I knew that. So we would Skype every single day for like an hour just so I could like keep in touch, and I'd visit her every 2 or 3 months. And there was this one point around May of last year where she had visited me in Minnesota and visited her family. And there's this lake called Lake Calhoun in Minnesota, which is like a big beach type lake. It's just really nice to be there. And we were just kind of hanging out there. It was my first time there, even though I was a Minnesota resident. And she was just kind of, it got like really like heavy. And she had told me that she's probably not going to visit Minnesota again. It'd be the last time that she was visiting.
Oh,
And I got like a really weird vibe from it. So I asked her, I was just like, "Is this going to be the last time I'm going to see you?" Knowing everything about the suicidal tendencies. And she had a past of it as well, of past attempts because of, other things with her life that went wrong that we might be able to get into later if you want to hear about that. But
absolutely.
she basically couldn't look at me, couldn't talk to me, couldn't say anything. And I was already kind of like throwing the idea around of possibly moving out there. But I work at Costco wholesale. So like our raises are based on the number of hours we work. And like we hit a certain like number of hours, then we top out to like $30 an hour now is what it is. So I
Nice.
was essentially just waiting to top out, which would be happening this year, like this December or something like that. I top out, but I was waiting till then to move, because I have a girlfriend back in Minnesota too, and so we had this whole plan to like move out here and live out here with my friend, or like a year from now, or well, it'd be like today's date. But what ended up happening was like as soon as she said that like she'd probably not be visiting, I got that really weird vibe. I like decided then and there that I was going to move. A week later, I put in a transfer to the Portland Costco because we live in Vancouver, Washington. So it's like right on the border of Washington and Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put in for a job as a forklift driver at the Portland Costco. 2 days later, I had an over-the-phone interview. 3 days after that, I got offered the job. And by September 1st, I had moved out here.
Attaboy.
And like, yeah, and like my girlfriend's still back home, family's still back home. I just kind of uproot everything to come and help. And since then, my friend has gone to treatment, in-house treatment, done a bunch of fundraisers with the clothing brand to like help raise her money. Because when she went to treatment, it cost her $13,000 for 5 days of in-house treatment. Yeah, because that type of stuff isn't cheap. And when you don't have insurance, it really gets you like pretty bad.
Yeah.
So that's the basic story of why I moved out here and like the idea of the clothing brand. I mean, there's a little bit more of the inception of the clothing brand, but that's the basic reason why I decided to start it.
Well, just for the listeners, 90% of people who are seriously contemplating suicide, roughly 90%, give hint if you know what to listen for. Fortunately, only 5% actually complete of the 90%. But yeah, it's all about listening very closely. And when you said, yeah, she wouldn't look at you, you got a hinky feeling. They teach you in QPR. If the thought pops into your head, I wonder if they're thinking about suicide. Chances are they're thinking about suicide.
Yeah. It was one of those things too, where it's like when she had first told me about it, it's like, I already knew, and with the clothing brand, the whole idea is to like, not necessarily be the solution. Like I'm not going to be able to give someone, therapy. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm not professionally trained for that sort of thing. But the idea of the clothing brand is to be this symbol and have this wearable symbol and be able to like be a person that someone can go to that just gives like unconditional support, like the backup to go like, hey, it's cool that you go to therapy. It's totally normal. Hey, it's okay that you talk about this. It's okay you feel this way, but you should definitely get checked out. You shouldn't be embarrassed. I'll back you up on this. If it's a money issue, we'll figure it out, and just like offer the support. Because a lot of the times from my experience, just living with her too, it is more like support because she feels like almost shameful or like weak that she needs help or she doesn't want to let people down. And it's like, it's okay to put yourself first in these types of situations. And, I have to tell her, it's like, I want you around. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that like your quality of life is improved. So you want to be around was the basic idea of it.
Gonna make me cry, Malcolm.
Aww.
You're a good friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that.
So is she, after doing the treatment, is she getting better? Is she still having symptoms on?
So there was this time, and this was only like a couple months ago when she finally ended up going to treatment. But how it went down was she got this job with like the modeling agency, and she had to do this workshop for it, and it was scheduled like a month out, and she was scheduling her appointment for the in-house treatment for like an assessment to see if she would like qualify for it, because they like just don't let anyone in. They have to make sure that there's like a serious need for it. And things just got dark. Little backstory, her dad had just recently died in like November from cancer. So yeah, and it kind of happened like suddenly, where we found out like a month prior, and then a month later he was gone. So she's been dealing with that like on top of all her other medical issues and things like that. So, but after that, things kind of obviously like took a turn for the worse, kind of got like a lot darker really fast. And there was things where she was saying things like, it's like, it sucks because if I die and like heaven and hell exists, like my dad's in heaven and I'm going to hell for sure. And she's like, and honestly, like I would much rather be in hell anyways, because, like God wasn't there for me when I needed him through all this, past stuff in her life. Because there is a lot of things that have like gone wrong in her life. Like when she medically condition wise, she's diagnosed bipolar, ADHD. She has tinnitus in her ears too.
Oh Lord, oh God.
Yeah, and then so when she has lupus. And those are her just medical conditions. And then on top of that, when she was 16, she was in a car accident and her friend in the passenger seat had died. And then a couple weeks later, she went to go check on her friend who was driving, knocked on the door. He said, come in, and she watched him kill himself. Yeah. So there's just a lot of really negative experiences that she's had. So she like really fell off her religion hard. And when her dad passed, it just kind of spiraled out of control. And I saw the signs, when she was saying like, I would rather be in hell than heaven. Like my dad's there and I don't believe in anything. And she, ended up, I saw her like packing up her stuff and kind of just like throwing stuff away. And to me, that was like another red flag. Cause I was like, you're trying to like lighten the load if you leave. So I had told her, I was like, you need to go to treatment like this weekend. You need to like bump your appointment up. And she's like, well, I want to wait until after I do the modeling agency workshop. And I was just like, no, you can't. She's like, well, then it's a missed opportunity if I'm in treatment. And I said, well, it's not an opportunity if you're dead.
Yeah, nice shot.
Yeah.
Well said.
So she ended up going to have her assessment the next day, and they verified that she did need the help and that it was like so bad that they wouldn't even let her come home. They like admitted her that night. And then she was there for 5 days, $13,000, and she came back and it was like night and day difference.
So did she get to do the workshop for the modeling agency?
Yeah, she did, but she has decided to not do the modeling thing now. She's trying to put like her mental health first and all this stuff. I mean, on top of all that other stuff, she also has like an eating disorder, which like all and like past like drug addictions and stuff like that, which all kind of tie into like bipolar. There's like known facts that like people with bipolar tend to get like have drug addiction problems and eating disorder problems as well as ADHD and things like that, because bipolar is just like kind of complicated and affects like your entire spectrum.
Gotcha.
So it's very strange, yeah.
So Tubbs, are we going to ask him about the clothing line? I'd like to see a couple of pieces. I'd like to know how the clothing line came about. Do you have some of the stuff with you, Malcolm? Do you have?
Yeah, I have it all here. I can show you some.
Come on, man, pimp the stuff. This is
yeah.
Maybe we can sell some for you.
Yeah, maybe. So you can go to hereforlife.com, spelled HERE, and then the number 4 and LYF.
Wait a minute.
And I have
HERE, the number 4 and LYF.com?
Correct.
Okay.
So
we'll put in the show notes if you're listening and want to know how to get to buy some.
Yeah. Thanks. But yeah, I mean,
come on.
Essentially how it all started was that so I have another podcast as well. I have a music podcast back in Minnesota that I do. But at the time of the inception of the clothing brand, I kind of kept throwing these ideas out because I like to think of myself as an idea guy. But like no one was ever doing the ideas I had. And I like had this conversation with a coworker about how I feel like there's this epidemic of isolation, and in this world where we have like, unlimited amounts of ways to like be in contact with each other, whether it be cell phones or the internet or whatever, everyone still feels like super isolated. Right. And I'm like, we're a species that's like meant to be in groups and like a community, because like if we weren't like caveman times, we would have like, died out. It's like, that's how we survive. Yeah, exactly. So even though there's some people who are introverted, just because you're introverted doesn't mean you need to be isolated as well. It just means that you like your alone time. So I had come up with the idea, and instead of just like talking about it, I decided, well, I'm just going to do it. And I kept making excuses for a while, going like, well, I don't know anything about it. Maybe I should get some books. And then I just kind of pulled the trigger on it and was like, well, I'm just going to learn on the way, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to know how to do it. Like, I'd rather learn from failure than learn from not doing anything and be like, I should have done it, So, yeah, there's a bunch of designs. So we had 2 Kickstarters. Both Kickstarters were successful. One was for the initial launch, and then one was for a fall launch. And I'm thinking about doing a third one here to try to get some like media going, because I want to do like a mental health podcast as well, and like my YouTube channel. I want to get going and put content out there where, people essentially can like go to it and relate to it and know that there is like other options and things like that. Where on hereforlife.com, we just did our first blog entry. I wrote about me moving out here. And then we have a submission area where you can submit anonymously or have your name, title your work, and then write a whole entry, and it gets emailed to me anonymously, and then I can post it. So it's basically a way for people to like vent and express like what they went through, and then people can comment on it and give support and things like that too. So that's the newest thing that is going on right now.
Yeah, I thought about doing that, call it a pity party page.
Yeah.
Because everybody on Facebook talks about all the wonderful things they're doing. How about a page for, when life goes to hell in a handbasket? How about that?
Yeah, no joke. But yeah, you want to see some of the merch then?
No, for God's sakes, don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Come
Do
on,
we want
Doc.
to save it for the video podcast?
Oh, we could do that. We could save it for the video. Give us a little
Yeah.
taste. Give us a teaser. Give me one
Sure.
piece of clothing with whatever on it.
All right. Well, do you want you can choose the piece. Do you want like a hoodie, a t-shirt, a mug, or a baseball cap, or like a hat?
Sara?
I want to see a baseball cap.
Sure. I'm wearing one right now.
Oh, it's one of yours. Okay.
Yep. So, and we also have the same design, has like snapbacks and stuff on it too. And
You're for life. Nice.
we have beanies. Yeah. So, and it's a custom font too that we did where I was like, I kind of want it to look like where the wild things are. And then my design guy,
it
shout out
does.
to Taylor Sturgeon, he just made the font by himself. And so it's completely untrademarked, like no one can steal it and all that. So it's pretty cool. But through the course of doing the clothing brand too, the thing that was like the most difficult, honestly, was the trademarking process. It's still like not even like 100% confirmed because that's how long it takes, because I had to do a whole second one.
I'm familiar with the trademarking process.
Yeah, but it's finally at like the last stages. I just have to wait for it to be verified now. But the first one was just called For Life initially, and then it got like appealed by someone who had a clothing brand for like anti-police. It was very strange. And then he appealed it, and then the cost of a counter appeal or like getting a new trademark was like the same. So I just went with a new trademark.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and there's tons of designs. We just endorsed 2 bands from Minnesota. One band's called Halcyon Wonder, where their whole idea and their mission behind their music is just to like let people know that they're loved and cared about. And basically our mission statements are very much the same as far as what they do musically and what I do with the brand. So we have a collaboration shirt that has some of their lyrics on the back, and it says, "In the pain from today, we find hope for tomorrow."
Cool.
Yeah, and then we just endorsed another band from Minnesota called Careful Gaze, where they just released a full album, and the entire album's concept is about dealing with like depression and like suicidal thoughts and stuff. And it's like crazy good. Like, they're both super talented musicians from Minnesota.
Zara, got another question?
Yeah. What does your family and your girlfriend think about what you're doing, about moving across the country to help someone and starting
A woman.
Yeah. So the initial thing that was like crazy is I remember asking my girlfriend before I decided to move. I asked her, I was like, if you knew that like you could help and like save someone's life, but you had to like maybe break up with the person to do that, would you break up with your significant other? And she was like, honestly, if it was to save my friend, yeah, I would. And I was just like, okay, you're a keeper. I was like, we're not going to break up, but like, I like valued that she was like honest with me about it, and that she shared the same values and understood like where I was coming from.
Okay.
More so than anything. And so she was very supportive of it the whole time. And I mean, like, the move happened suddenly, it just, it was within like a month and a half, and then I was gone. And we had lived together for like 3 years. We lived with my parents trying to save money for a house and stuff. And then I spent all the money I had to move out here. But she was really, really supportive of everything. And unfortunately, the hardest part for me out here currently is because, like I had mentioned, my friends had died of cancer in January. And we found out in like November that he had cancer, and then he died in January around my birthday. But in November, my girlfriend's dad died as well. Was in a car accident. So like basically I moved out here in September, and then a couple months later, like the 2 girls that I like care about lost their dads. And then so I'm like living with one, dealing with, her sadness and her mourning of that. And then when I can Skype my girlfriend, it's like the same on the other end. So being like an empathetic person, it's pretty draining on me. But I mean, that's it. I just want to like be able to help them, It's just unfortunate that it all happened at once. And then also when their fathers had died, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, but she recently beat it. So yay.
Hey, no kidding.
Yeah, I needed to catch a break there,
So, how do you take care of yourself? Because a really big problem with caring for someone who has mental illness is burnout and feeling really overwhelmed. And it sounds like you have a lot of people that you care about and are helping through some really traumatic times. So how do you take care of yourself?
Well, it's like really strange. I like to think that I have like a different mindset or a brain about some of this stuff, because when I am by myself, like I've never been diagnosed with depression, but I'm sure I have it. I mean, I know like a big percentage of the population suffers from some type of depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I might have ADHD too, but I've never been diagnosed. I've never had to take medication or anything. But the one thing I know for sure is like when I'm alone, like by myself, I get like really anxious and start to kind of like freak out. Like I get in my own head. Um, and when that kind of stuff happens, the best thing for me to do is just like be around people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even, doesn't even need to be like people I know. Like I like to refer to myself as an extroverted introvert or like an amnivert, because I'll get really drained from being like alone, and I'll be like really drained from being in like big groups. But if I'm like with like one or two people, I feel great. Or when I am drained on either end of the spectrum, like me going to like the mall and being around people, but not people I know, like really recharges me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like the best thing I can do when I feel burnt out, as weird as it is just kind of like, honestly, like, so I live with my friend, and like when I'm around her, it's better, because me being like an empathetic person, it's like even when she's sad, it's like when I feel like the most useful,
Mm-hmm.
because I can help. So the times where I really do feel like burnt out and crummy are the times where I feel like I'm not like being of help at all. So like I tend to go out of my way to just find someone who has like an issue to try to help them, because it like either maybe it like makes me feel better or it distracts me. But that's the route I've been taking. But when I do reach like burnout, like 100%, like I can't do anymore. I mean, my roommate totally like understands, and she's just like, "Yep, it's totally fine. Like you do you," and then I'll probably sleep for like a day or something like that, just try to recharge, you know. But I definitely have like an internal monologue that keeps me going too, where if I feel burnt out, it's like, hey, like it's okay that like you're burnt out, but like you need to like get it together, and then I can take a day, and then the next day I'm like fine. But it's really weird. It's like a really strange internal monologue that I typically have.
Do you have any advice for anyone that is in a similar situation of caring for someone who has mental illness or suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that like I would say that I've experienced with my roommate too is the fact that when I feel burnt out, typically the people that like are like depressed or suicidal or like feel like that, they're very empathetic, because they know what it's like to feel like worthless. So they don't want anyone else to feel that way. The best thing that's like happened with me and my roommate is like when I do feel like that, as soon as I'm like, hey, I'm feeling like really burnt out or really sad or this or that, she like switches and just like it becomes her like supporting me and taking care of me. So I would say the best advice is like if you're burnt out from someone or something, like if you're close to them, and hopefully you are, if you're in that situation, just be like open and honest with them about it, because typically like they're going to respond in the way that they need you to, because they care about you just as much as you care about them. So yeah, just like tell them, just be open and honest. There's no shame in you feeling like I had a hard time with this for a really long time, because I would refer to myself as the strong friend. It's like everyone would come to me, and it's like no one ever asked if I was okay or this or that, and I would get burnt out. And so it's like, the check on your strong friends thing, and it's like I would read things like that all the time, make sure to check on your strong friends. And then I kind of had this realization that like I see myself as a strong friend, but not everyone sees me that way. So it's totally okay for me to like ask for help too.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Last question, Malcolm. Your
Yeah.
sweetheart, your girlfriend, you guys are living together, correct?
Me and my girlfriend were living together. She's still in Minnesota right now.
Oh, okay.
After her dad passed away, she like stayed there to take care of her family and also take care of my mom when she was going through her cancer treatments.
Oh, so do you guys have plans
Yeah.
to, tie the knot, as they used
Yeah,
to?
I mean, we've like talked about. We've been together for 4 years. We're like a very weird couple where, I don't know. It's not like typical where people go like, we've been dating for X amount of years, we should probably get married. Where it's not really on either of our radars, and like kids aren't either. We both very much feel like children still, even though like I'm 27 and she's 24 now. It's
Yep.
just I don't know. I don't feel adult enough to like make that decision yet, and I almost feel like it's like better to, I don't know, like elope and save that money and put a down payment on a
Oh, dear
house,
God, yes.
Yeah, it's just it's like a whole different thing. So like the traditional sense of marriage isn't something really on our radar, but like we've talked about it before. But she's a keeper for sure. I mean, without her, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now.
Well, I got to tell you, I tried to convince my first wife's folks because they spend, I don't know, $25,000 on a wedding or some nonsense.
Yeah,
Let's go to Vegas, take that 25K and put it down in a condo somewhere. For goodness sakes, I mean, it's not like
yeah,
this
that's what
thing's
I was saying.
not like this thing's gonna last forever. Come on, everybody needs to start a marriage.
Well, Pakistani weddings cost like, and Indian weddings cost like a fortune. I know one family put in $100,000 for a
No.
wedding.
That's like
It's
insane to
like
me.
you get this one chance to get married, and that's all you get. So we're gonna put all the money into it. And like I guess this is a tangent, but like marriage is so revered in our culture. Like if you're not married, it's seen as a failure on the kid and the parents. So
Right.
I guess that's why they celebrate it so much when someone gets married. Yeah. Hopefully I get married and my parents don't put like 100K. Well, I know they won't, but like,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Malcolm, how does one get in touch with you if they want to buy some of your designer sportswear and such?
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways. The best way is probably direct message me on Instagram. The Instagram handle is Here for Life. You could also message me on Facebook, and that's Here for Life Clothing Company. Or you can email me directly, and you can get the email on hereforlife.com.
So it's HERE.
RE, the number 4LYF.
Yep.
Correct.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for being on, and we'll put all those notes on the what do you call it? Now my mind went blank on the for this podcast. There will be what do they call that page, Sara? The show notes. There it is. There it is. No, show notes. I couldn't think of show notes. Yeah, sorry. I'm 62. I'm old. So anyway, Malcolm, thanks very much.
Yeah.
And Sara, thank you very much. And Sara, I will see you on the next podcast.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. So now we're going to do the video portion. Malcolm, so if you want to take us a tour through tell us again what it is that you do. You designed a line of clothing to sell and raise money, I believe, for suicide prevention, mental health awareness. What's the
So like the basic idea, because I'm not a nonprofit, like full disclosure, I'm like $10,000 in debt with my own money to do this, so I'm not a nonprofit right now. It takes a lot of paperwork to become a nonprofit, but
you're a no-profit right now.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea that I had for the clothing brand, like how it actually came to be, was this idea of like everyone being like isolated and stuff, and I wanted to try to solve the problem, because I was like, everyone feels so alone, and it's just like, it's nice to know that, like, essentially someone gives a crap. And so the idea was to create this wearable symbol for people to see, that go like, oh, that person actually cares. Like, I can confide in them. I can, like, talk to them or whatever. And basically just create this community of unconditional support where people can actually go and just be like, hey, like, are you okay? If you're not, like, going to therapy is totally normal. And, like, going to get help is normal. And if you're not getting the support that you need from your family, like, you can get it from me, like things like that. So our logo that we came up with is a lighthouse, because it's very, metaphorical in the terms of like a ship lost at sea at night, finding its way out of the darkness back to shore.
Oh yeah, and that's on your hoodie right there. Is that the?
Yeah, this is the newest one. So this design was specifically made, hand drawn by my design artist Taylor, for my friend out here, because I was helping her raise money to pay for her treatment. So we raised like $600 selling this merch, like pre-orders and stuff like that. And the back has like the same design, just big on it. And we have older designs with lighthouses and different concepts and things like that. And pretty much every design I have is based off of my friend some way or another.
Okay, so you got hoodies, you got hats. Let's see your hat. Let's see your hat again. Let's see the logo on the front of your cap. And it is like where the wild things are.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
very
was the
much
idea. I
so.
wanted to put like a little bit like childish fun in it because like my friend is very like loving, and like the whole idea of the unconditional support like came directly from her. I've never met someone so, supportive and loving in my entire life, and somehow despite everything that she's been through, she still like manages to be like a positive part of my life somehow.
Amazing. Yeah, because
So
she's had all sorts
yeah.
of mental issues and physical issues and tragedy in her life. And
Yeah, I mean, and that's not even like all of it too. Like when she was 18, she got jumped when she was pumping gas, and she got taken advantage of. She got raped by a group of guys too. So
good
she's
Lord.
completely, yeah, she's been through, like, I mean, to put it simply, she's been through some shit. So like, it's just, and somehow like no one knows. Like she's the most like bubbly, sweet, like kind person I've ever met. And she's not even originally from here. She's originally from Italy. And then she lived in Boston and in Minnesota and now Washington.
What's the T-shirt look like? Have you got a T-shirt handy?
Yeah, we have a couple of them. So I have a tank top.
Tank top, yeah.
So, yeah, so I'll show you a couple of these before we do the video podcast if you want.
We're doing a video podcast right now.
Oh, it's right now. I didn't even know.
That's
Yeah. Totally good. No.
You're on candid camera.
Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah. So this is the tank top. I don't know if you can really see it that well in the lighting there.
Yeah, they're right there. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So the whole, it says the struggle will be hard, and the whole front of it is kind of like this solo person at the base of a mountain. And the whole idea of that logo was taking the idea and the metaphor of a mountain and being like, the people who scale mountains and have all these issues, like when you're at the base of the mountain, it looks like the most impossible thing to possibly do. And like, it's going to be hard to get up it, but as long as you're motivated and stick with it, you can make it. So like on the back of it, it says, but the struggle will be worth it. And it shows two people up on top of a cliff looking at the view. And the whole idea of that concept is like, you don't have to like go through the struggle alone. And like, when you finally can get the help and get out of the dark place, it's like, you guys can celebrate together. So that's the idea of the tank top. We have mugs right now, a couple of them. Can't really tell with the bubble wrap on it, but it has the same design on it as the hoodie.
Yeah.
Is that this shirt was designed based off of my friend too, where her favorite flower is daisies, and she was the one who kind of gave me the idea of the unconditional support and love. So this one says unconditional, and it says for life on it, and inside the unconditional there's a bunch of daisies.
Oh,
nice.
I love daisies.
So there's that one. And then something that her and I always said to each other that really helped us through like hard times was, I got you. Which is just like, if she was crying or something like that, it was just one of those things that we would say, it's like, I got you. Like, don't worry. Like, I'm here. I'm present. Like, we'll be okay. And so I came up with this design. There's one of the first designs I did, but it just says, I got you for life clothing. And it shows like someone helping someone up from the cliff.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, and it has like the little daisy too. And the thing that's kind of cool is the shirts all kind of tie into each other a little bit, where on the back of the tank top, if you notice, it's the same two people.
Oh.
There's like a daisy in the cliff. So there's those ones. And then I had a limited run of like some acronym shirts, and they're just black shirts. But originally the reason why it was for life and spell LYF is because it's an acronym for like, I have a couple of them, but it's love your friends.
Oh yeah.
And then there's another one that says love yourself first, and then there was a third one that said love your family. So there's those. And then this was one of my favorite ones. This one sold the most. I'm currently like out of stock with the black t-shirt because it comes in black and white. But it was this idea I had where even though people are going through like a dark time, it's like, it's such like a taboo topic that people don't really tend to talk about. It's like when you see someone with like scars on their arms from cutting, it's like most people see it and they kind of get like skittish about it and don't really want to talk about it. And they go like, oh, are you okay? Do you need help? And to me, when I see the scars, it's not like you need help. There's something wrong with you. It's like, you're a survivor. Like, they're scars. They're not like open wounds right now. Like, you made it through that part of your life and you're here now. Like, you shouldn't be ashamed of them. Like, it sucks that you have them, but like, it's totally okay that you do. Like, I'm glad you're here. And so the idea was, even though some of these people are kind of like shrouded by darkness, it doesn't make them any less beautiful. So I Googled some stuff, and I found out about this flower, a hibiscus flower called a rose mallow, that grows in swamps. So it's like this really beautiful flower that grows in swamps. So it's kind of like symbolism of a beautiful thing in a dark place. So
Okay.
yeah, and so my friend, my designer, made that design with the flower, and I had him watercolor wash it out, because it's kind of like representing the darkness washing away from somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the long sleeve, and on the back it says,
But wait, there's more.
yeah, on the back it says, sometimes the most beautiful things are found in the darkest places.
Oh, nice.
Yay.
Yeah. So that's the long sleeve. I told you there's a lot of merch.
Yeah, you weren't. This is correct.
Yeah. So we also have a baseball tee, black with white sleeves and white with black sleeves. And it's really simple. This design was created to be like a conversation starter, to get people to like kind of talk about like mental health and like suicide prevention and things like that, because a lot of people don't really talk about it. Nobody really takes like suicide as serious as they should, in my opinion. I feel like it should be taken just as seriously as your physical health is.
Sure.
And I think we're on the right track to kind of like get there, but there's still like a lot to be done for that to work, and people need to talk about it, and not to feel so scared to talk about it. So we came out with this design, and it's just a fraction, and it has some like roses on it. It's 121/24. And typically when people see me wearing that, what they ask is like, what does that mean? And it's a fraction because 121 people successfully commit suicide in the United States every 24 hours.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So basically it's like, even though it's one of those things that's hard to talk about, when someone asks like, what does that mean? You can explain it and be like, the reason why I wear it is because I support this, and there needs to be something to be talked about, you know. And so it's actually worked like a lot. It works like great as like a conversation starter, as far as like people trying not to talk about it, you know.
No, I think it's a great idea. Anytime you can, whether it's your introduction or something you're wearing that generates a question in the mind of the person either hearing or seeing it, is good marketing.
Right.
One last question before we let you go, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
No, I'm sorry. You're not allowed to. Yes, absolutely,
Okay,
Sara.
Grandpa.
Ah!
Just kidding. This is just a suggestion, but one thing in the mental health community is that we're changing our language when we talk about suicide. So now we aren't saying commit suicide, because that has
It implies something bad, right? Like something like they did something wrong.
Yeah.
Like a crime. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Crime, and it's the illness that's causing suicide, not really the person. So now the language that we use is die by suicide.
Or completed.
Yeah.
Oh, so, good to know.
Suggestion.
Yeah, you know,
totally.
because you commit a sin, you commit a crime. It's we're trying to change that. So, last question, Malcolm. Goals. I know you're topping out at Costco at $30 an hour. Congratulations, that's great money. But personal goals beyond the folks at Costco.
So like with the clothing brand, the long-term goal is to kind of just have like this community of people who like unconditionally support each other. With that being said, one of the things I have on my mind is to be able to eventually raise money and become a nonprofit, and then use the nonprofit money to go to lobby to get mental health put on statewide insurance. Is what I would want to do long-term, because not everyone has the capabilities and resources to be able to go to treatment because of the cost of it, and that's what keeps a lot of people from going in the first place.
That is correct. Well, tell us again how we can get in touch with you and or buy some of your swag.
Yeah, sure. So you can reach me out on Instagram. The tag is @HereForLife. Facebook is Here for Life Clothing Company, or you can directly email me, and you can get the email on hereforlife.com.
And how do you spell Here for Life, Sara?
HER, the number 4, LYS.
HERE, actually.
Oh, my bad. I can't spell. Okay. I have a degree from an engineering college, and apparently I can't spell.
That's quite all right. You have other good qualities. Anyway, Malcolm, thanks for coming on. Thanks for finding us.
Yeah.
That was we really do appreciate that. We'll put your contact information in the show notes, and hopefully people will buy some of the wearables that you have to sell, and you can raise a lot of money for mental health.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Malcolm. Thanks, Sara. See you next podcast.
Hey, happy Father's Day.
Thank you. I'm not a father as far as I know.
Wait,
What of
really?
it?
You got kids?
No, well, four-legged.
Oh,
I have no children. We tried for about 8 years and it didn't work, so we started adopting animals.
oh, okay.
And
Well,
you can't create a kid; you can create a German Shepherd. So it all worked out. All right, Malcolm. Thanks very much for being
Yeah.
on with us. And Zara, I will see you for the 1 o'clock podcast.
okay. Bye.
See you guys.